Hey guys, quick little tutorial once again here today. This time we're going to run down through your Bill of Rights. Basically, they are the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution, and it's important that you know what they mean and really what may have inspired our founding fathers to put down those protections in the first place. So, look, really quickly, a little background. The Bill of Rights, they were amendments first proposed to the Constitution by anti-federalists. These were the guys who were afraid of big, strong government. They were afraid that they were actually creating a government that was going to be too powerful. So in September 1789, the first Congress of the United States approved 12 amendments to the United States Constitution and sent them off to the states to be ratified. Notice, yes, I did say 12 amendments. The amendments are designed to protect your rights. You're an American citizen. They're designed to protect your rights. Guarantees things like freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, your right to exercise any religion, even no religion. You have the right to a fair and legal procedure. You have the right to bear arms. And basically, any powers that aren't written in the Constitution for the federal government are then reserved to both the people and the states. Okay? Look, ultimately, we didn't invent this idea. It had been around for a while. In 1689, the English folk came up with the English Bill of Rights. And we also drew a lot on Virginia's Declaration of Rights that was written by George Mason in 1776. So we didn't just imagine this. We used other parts of history to come up with this idea. So on December 15th, 1791, Articles 3 through 12 were ratified and put into play. 3 through 12, basically 3 through 12 is 10 amendments. And these first 10 amendments are known as your Bill of Rights. 2 of them did not pass. So let's jump right into it. Your First Amendment is a big one. It's huge. It protects things like your freedom of speech, your freedom of religion, your freedom of the press, your right to assemble, and your right to petition. Now, I know some of these words are a little bit strange to you, so let's kind of go through this really quickly. Basically, your freedom of speech is the right to express your opinion without any censorship or restraint. Plain and simple, they wanted to protect Americans' rights to protect you from being arrested, persecuted, or even killed for criticizing the government. Today, a lot of people think that the First Amendment includes more rights to speech. However, many times the courts have actually sided against certain types of speech listed below, like obscenity. Yeah, if you're using curse words all the time, it can be censored. Fighting words. There's certain words that we just do not use because when we use these words, it invokes a human response. The N-word, for example, is one of those words. Defamation, if you libel or slander a person. Child pornography, that is not expression. Perjury, lying while you're on the stand. Blackmail, causing people to riot. True threats or solicitations to commit crimes. These are not freedoms of speech. Freedom of the press. We like to believe that our press has the freedom to publish any story that they want. A newspaper that publishes false information about a person, for example, can be sued for libel. A television station, similarly, can be sued if it broadcasts a story that unlawfully invades a person's privacy, because such liabilities can be staggering. Most journalists strive to exercise their freedom to publish in a responsible and ethical manner. Look, this whole slide, here's the deal. As long as the press is being honest and truthful, they have the freedom to do so. Most media outlets, whether we're talking CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox, all of these news stations strive to be honest and truthful. However, many media sources are biased today. Think about it. If you grow up to own a TV station and you want candidate X to become president, you're probably going to push that they get good advertising time from your media station. It's true for all stations. It says, so it's very important that you view more than just one media source to be the best informed citizen you can be. Freedom of religion. You have the right to practice whatever religion you choose, even if it means you don't have a religion. Remember the Quakers, the Pilgrims? These were early people from Europe to the Americas who fled their home country because they weren't allowed to worship freely. The Founding Fathers remembered this, and they listed this protection under the First Amendment. Freedom of assembly. You have the right to come together without interference by the government. Okay? Look, the government can require you to get permits for your assembly so that order can be maintained. They're not permitted as to what group receives the permits. They can't turn around and say, oh, well, because we gave a permit to this group, we're not going to give one to this group. So, look, ultimately, it's important, however, if your assembly becomes violent, disruptive, if it spills into the streets, if it's interfering with the flow of traffic, if you're stopping people from using the sidewalk, then yes, your assembly can be shut down. As long as it is in an approved location and it remains peaceful, you're good to go. So keep that in mind. Keep it peaceful when you're trying to change the world. Your right to petition. Okay? The right to petition government for redress of grievances is the right to make a complaint to or seek assistance of one's government without fear or punishment of reprisals. In other words, let's say the United States government makes a law today and most Americans disagree with it. You have the right to go ahead and put your name down on a list to petition the government to please change that law. And you cannot be afraid that government is going to come back to your home and arrest you because you put your name on that piece of paper in the first place. You have that freedom. So let's jump into the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is the one everybody always wants to talk about. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Ultimately, it is saying that in order to maintain a militia, you, the people, should be able to keep guns, and it shall not be infringed. Look, here's the deal, though. Today, the Second Amendment has come into a lot of debate. There's essentially two sides for the argument. Pro-gun. People who are pro-gun understand that the Founding Fathers created the Second Amendment to give citizens the right to stand against a corrupt government one day. Basically, if the government has guns, we, the citizens, need guns to protect ourselves when government fails to protect our rights and instead begins stepping on them. Anti-gun? Well, people who are anti-gun also know, they might know their history, that the Founding Fathers created this Second Amendment to give citizens the right to stand against a corrupt government one day. However, they argue many times that individuals armed with hunting rifles truly stand no chance against our military today. And they also argue that due to recent events in this country, we have to consider who has the right to have a weapon, as it is a tremendous responsibility. So, look, guns have been in a lot of discussions in the modern era, okay? In 1981, President Reagan had an attempt made on his life, and he was in the company of another man named James Brady, who was shot in the head during the attempt on the president's life. Brady would go on to sponsor a bill in Congress that made federal background checks mandatory on firearm purchasers in the United States, and an imposed 5-day waiting period. Okay, this bill was known as the Brady Bill. So, this is a Tech 9, a fully automatic pistol. It was heavy and not very accurate, but in the 90s, it was used in a lot of crimes and mass shootings. This weapon was even used in the Columbine massacre, in which 2 students, if you remember, killed 12 students and a teacher. This weapon, along with 18 others, were banned in the United States in 1994 after the federal assault weapons ban, but the ban did expire in 2004. So these are all images of like the last, 5-6 years in this country. So there's a lot of debate about whether we need gun control. With the world and the state that it's in today, many are beginning to wonder if this right is still valid. It is not a topic on which I'm going to give my personal opinion, but one which you, the future voters, may have to decide for yourself. Does the Second Amendment guarantee the right to all citizens to own firearms? Okay, so the Third Amendment. It prevents citizens from having to shelter troops in private homes. Okay, do you remember that provision in the Intolerable Acts known as the Quartering Act? It said that basically colonists would have to house British soldiers when no other quarters were available. Yeah, the Founding Fathers said that should never happen again. Okay, so basically that is the incentive, that's where the motivation comes from to protect folks for that. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So there you go. The Fourth Amendment keeps the government from entering a residence or property to look for evidence of a crime without a search warrant. Search and seizure, right? Now, do you recall the Townshend Act? The act included a piece called the Writs of Assistance, which basically allowed a member of the British government to search a ship's cargo without any warning. Though this was done to stop smuggling, colonials felt it was a violation of their rights as British citizens, and they're probably right. Okay? So ultimately, officials today have to follow a very strict set of guidelines before they're able to enter a property to look for evidence of a crime. Here's, for example, is a search warrant. Okay? So, the Fifth Amendment protects the rights of the accused. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. Look, what does it mean? It means that your rights are protected if you are accused of a crime. Okay? Your Miranda rights, for example, you have the right to remain silent, comes under the Fifth Amendment, telling you that you have a right to a lawyer. Okay? A right to a fair and speedy trial comes under the Sixth Amendment, the idea of a right to a lawyer. Okay? The Seventh Amendment, trial by jury. Okay? A right and an obligation. It guarantees a jury trial for civil cases in federal courts. The Eighth Amendment is bail and punishment. Okay? Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. You cannot be left to rot in a prison, for example, for a crime. You cannot have a limb removed for stealing, right? The Ninth Amendment are the powers reserved to the people. There are other rights that may exist aside from the ones explicitly mentioned already. And even though they're not listed here, it doesn't mean they can be violated. The Founding Fathers said, look, what if we forgot something? Well, this is where they covered it. The United States Constitution does not explicitly mention the right to privacy. And this is just one example of the vagueness of the Ninth Amendment. According to the founders of the Constitution, even James Madison, the right to privacy is just one example of the rights not listed in, but interpreted in the Ninth Amendment. And finally, the Tenth Amendment, powers reserved to the states. Any power that is not given to the federal government is given to the people or the states. Basically, what they just outlined there, all those rights protected by people. The Ninth Amendment says we may have forgotten something about people, so, put that in there. And then this 10th Amendment says, and if the rest of the Constitution doesn't give a power to the federal government, then it belongs to the states. Okay? Basically, that's it. Any power not granted already to the federal government belongs to the states or the people. Okay? So, look, here's your Bill of Rights in quick little order. If you take a look at it, this is basically what's going to be on your quiz. You'll see the title. The First Amendment is up here. Okay, I'll give you that. You need to tell me what is protected under that amendment. And they're going to go all the way to the 10. So if you guys want to take a few minutes, go ahead and look at these. But that's basically your quiz right there. You'll have to list the freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly, and petition for the First Amendment. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Third Amendment, keeping troops in private homes. But hopefully after this quick little PowerPoint here, you understand what may have motivated the Founding Fathers and basically what those rights are all about.